On March 22, 1941, the surviving German battleship Scharnhorst and Gneisenau docked in the port of Brest, France. They had participated in the German Operation Berlin against Allied shipping in the Atlantic Ocean. Just 9 weeks later, the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen also sought refuge in the harbor on June 1, 1941, after the failed Operation Exercise Rhine. However, whilst in port, the ships were in easy range of British air power and suffered frequent attacks and some damage. A 10-month offensive by the RAF from March 29, 1941 succeeded in flying 2,928 sorties against the Brest harbor. The German Naval High Command and Adolf Hitler desired to move the ships out of range from potential air raids. Concerned after the loss of Bismarck, Adolf Hitler ordered the Kriegsmarine to move the ships to Germany for overhauls in preparation for their deployment to Norway. After lengthy discussions, the Naval High Command opted for the shorter, but arguably more dangerous route, through the English Channel for the protection of 3 German capital ships to escape from France to Germany through the English Channel. An air superiority plan was designed to support the Kriegsmarines. Operation Cerberus, also known as the Channel Dash. Galland was given executive power for the air operation, which was given the code name, Operation Thunderbolt. The short route up the English Channel was preferred to a detour around the British Isles for surprise and air cover by the Luftwaffe. The British exploited decrypts of German radio messages coded with the Enigma machine, air reconnaissance by the RAF Photographic Reconnaissance Unit and agents in France to watch the ships and report the damage caused by the bombing. Operation Fuller, a joint Royal Navy RAF contingency plan, was devised to counter a sortie by the German ships against Atlantic convoys, a return to German ports by circumnavigating the British Isles, or a dash up the English Channel. The Royal Air Forces predicted the Germans might opt to choose the English Channel as their route. The Admiralty's Operational Intelligence Center was not certain that the Germans would attempt it, though he regarded as a possibility. RAF Fighter Command believed the Germans would use the darkness for the longest and most dangerous part of the journey. Galland decided that the aircraft should fly high and low cover, the low groups flying under British coastal radar. A standing patrol of at least 16 fighters was to be maintained, in 2 formations of 8 aircraft for their patrol altitudes, with each formation in 2 swarm of 4 aircraft. 1 swarm was to fly out to sea and 1 towards land, and all swarm were to fly back and forth along the line of ships and in figures of 8, in radio silence. The Funkdienst, Signals Intelligence Service, General Wolfgang Martini, attempted to jam British radio telephone frequencies by using a technique to increase atmospheric interference and to reduce the performance of British coastal radars. Dornier Do-217s of Bomber Wing 2 were to fly electronic deception sorties over the Western Channel to divert British aircraft. Fleetger Corps 9 prepared to bomb RAF bases in southwest England and to attack British naval forces attempting to intercept the Brest Group. Long-range reconnaissance Wing 123 was to keep watch on both ends of the channel and support Fleetger Corps 9. On February 11, 1942, the ships left Brest at 9:14 p.m. and escaped detection for more than 12 hours, approaching the Strait of Dover without discovery. As the ships neared Dover, the British belatedly responded. 2 experienced pilots were sent on patrol to investigate. Flying over the channel in Spitfires, they ran into large numbers of Bf-109s protecting a large fleet of warships and dived away. Holding radio silence, they kept their discovery until they landed. Soon afterwards, the first naval actions began between escorting Schnellboots and British motor torpedo boats, and the British commands were finally alerted. Galland ordered all low-flying to cease and allowed General Major Max Eibel to break radio silence, who acted as a liaison officer with the Kriegsmarine and his team aboard Scharnhorst. Eibel then began directing Focke-Wulf 190s and Bf-109s toward RAF units heading to the area. As the first outnumbered British units entered the airspace over the ships, the German vessels were now at their closest point to German airfields. It allowed the Luftwaffe to offer maximum protection. Lieutenant Commander Eugene Esmond, acting as squadron leader of No. 825 Squadron Fleet Air Arm, took off with his ferry Swordfish formation at 12:25 p.m. to attack the ships. Squadron No. 411 and 64 were to escort the Fleet Air Arm but arrived over in Manston 15 minutes late and missed the rendezvous. The only unit to keep to mission orders was Squadron Leader Brian Kincombe's No. 72 Squadron. Unaware of the Swordfish Squadron's location, they ran into each other by fortunate accident. Owing to low cloud cover, they dropped to between 50 and 100 meter. The heavy German fighter cover put an end to the protection the Spitfires could provide, as the RAF fighters now had to look after themselves. The Spitfires and Swordfish were engaged by Focke-Wulf 190 of 8 and 9 Staffel of 26 Fighter Wing led by Group Commander Gerhard Skopflib, 3rd Group of Fighter Wing 26. The Focke-Wulf 190s were just relieving fighters of 2nd Fighter Wing. In the event all 6 Swordfish were shot down. The Spitfires destroyed 3 of the Focke-Wulf 190s in return. Several Swordfish managed to fire off their torpedoes but none found their mark. The RAF Bomber Commands dispatched a total of 73 bombers at between 1:55 p.m. and 2:50 p.m. None of the attackers succeeded in hitting their targets. At 2:35 p.m., 9 Bristol Beauforts from No. 42 Squadron took off. Arriving over Manston at 2:50 p.m. they found other aircrafts from No. 407 Royal Canadian Air Force orbiting. It took nearly 30 minutes to form a proper formation. With several other squadrons they attacked the battleship Gneisenau and Prinz Eugen at heights of between 60 and 100 meter, but their torpedoes missed. No losses were suffered by No. 42 Squadron. 2 Royal Canadian Air Force bombers were lost without success. No. 217 Squadron nearly achieved a hit on battleship Gneisenau, but the ship turned away, just missing the salvo. Later, another wave of 134 to 137 bombers intercepted the ships between 4 o'clock and 5:05 p.m. Only 20 crews managed to make attacks owing to poor training. The most notable raid in this action was by 6 Beauforts from No. 86, 3 from No. 217 and 3 from No. 22 Squadron. No. 86 Squadron led the attack in the only ASV Mark II radar-loaded aircraft. Locating the German ships in the darkness they attacked, but heavy AAA fire scattered the bombers and no successes were achieved. Of the 242 bombers that took part in the missions, it is likely only 39 conducted attacks, though it is possible that a further 16 carried out attacks, suggesting a total of 54 aircraft actually released their bombs against the ships. Of this total, 15 of those were shot down. RAF Fighter Command also threw in fighter bombers to try and inflict damage, operating Hawker Hurricanes over the Dover area. Attacks by the RAF, Fleet Air Arm, Navy and bombardments by coastal artillery were costly failures, but Scharnhorst and Gneisenau were received minor damage by mines in the North Sea. By 13th of February, the ships had reached German ports. Operation Thunderbolt, Donnerkeil, had been an outstanding success for the Luftwaffe. The measure of success lay not in the ratio of losses, which amounted to 2:1 in the German favor, but the failure of the RAF, Fleet Air Arm and Royal Navy to intercept or at least inflict severe damage to the German warships. The meager forces committed by the Navy had been repulsed easily by the German warships and their escorts. Heavy AAA fire had offered a helpful defense against air attack, but the German air defense had succeeded, along with poor weather, in breaking up RAF assaults on the ships. Adolf Galland, responsible and the architect of the plan, called it the high point of his career.